Good morning. Uh, so I'll warn you guys in advance that I only knew that I was going to be giving this talk somewhere around 40 hours ago, and that was back in the U.S. and since then I've been on 3 planes and had very little sleep. And so I promise if I ever come back again, I'll do a much better job and be more prepared. But I'll do my best today. So I'd like to start by just learning a little bit about who you are, so I know how to give the presentation. So how many people are from here in this city, live in the city? How many people from Ukraine? How many people from outside Ukraine? Oh, that's more. I thought it was just going to be me, but all right, that's great. That's great. And how many of you have some experience with machine learning or data science, like scikit-learn? Okay, cool. Some. You have written one model or built one model before. Great. So, if I'm one of the only people, is anyone else from the US? Yeah, but you're the reason I'm here. So what am I doing here, right? And who am I? Who's this guy talking? And what is this data robot company? So I'm a data scientist. I spent about 8 years building predictive models for large insurance companies in the US. I also compete in predictive modeling competitions. If any of you have ever heard of Kaggle, where they host these modeling competitions for money. Did pretty well in there and decided to start a company. The company is called DataRobot, and we're predictive analytics software. And we employ some of the best data scientists in the world, literally. So there's 200,000 people on Kaggle, and we have the guy who's ranked number 1 currently out of 200,000 people in the world. We have the guy who was ranked number 1 before him for 2 straight years. Most modeling competitions that have been run, someone on my team or me has either placed very highly in or even won. So we're trying to take all that knowledge and experience we've gained and turn it into a product. That's about all you'll hear about DataRobot from me. If you're interested in hearing more, you can come talk to me after. But this isn't going to be a commercial for DataRobot. Yeah. I didn't even realize it. Somebody just told me, "Oh, why did you choose the colors for the Ukrainian flag?" I was like, "That's just the Python. That's just the PyCon logo." It was a coincidence. No, I'm just kidding. I chose it on purpose. So I asked the organizers what kind of talk they'd want, because I could give a really, really technical talk about machine learning and maybe like half the room might go to sleep, or could give something a little more motivational. They chose motivational, so that's what you're going to be stuck with. So this is going to be pretty high level and not very technical. And the structure is 2 parts. I'm going to remind you, because at some point you guys probably realize how much potential you have inside you because you know Python. You're capable of doing a lot of things with it. But I feel like we get into our day jobs and sometimes we lose sight of that. So I just want to remind you how powerful you are and how much potential you have because you know Python. And then the second part, I'm going to talk about some specific opportunities, specifically in the data science space, to apply your skills and do something great. So to remind you about how much potential you have, I'm going to tell you my story. About how DataRobot got started. Again, it's not going to be a commercial for DataRobot, just telling you a story of an entrepreneur who had an idea and built a company and stumbled along the way. So I was there working inside this big insurance company, 33,000 people, just one guy, and I realized that's really not for me. And so I convinced some of my friends to start a company. So we got an idea. It was a really great idea. The team, I knew the people very well. I trusted them. They were super smart. we got a business plan, and then we made this operating agreement. Like every situation possible that could possibly come up was handled in this operating agreement. So it was like 20 pages long. Bought a MacBook because that's what entrepreneurs do, right? Headphones. And then we start to meet every weekend. So we had our day jobs still, but every weekend and every night we would get together and meet at my house or their house. And what we did was stare at the computer screen a lot. And we didn't get much done. So we had all these things lined up, check, 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 but no ability to execute. So being a data scientist inside of a big insurance company means that I know languages like SAS or a little bit of R, not Python. And when we went to actually build a product, we couldn't do anything. We just sat there and talked a lot about stuff to procrastinate. So we gave up and decided that we were going to have to learn some skills, some Python skills, to be able to pull off our dream. So I wanted to insert a video here, but I didn't have time, and I didn't think the audio video was going to work, so I'm doing it in a few different steps here. And I'm curious as to like how much of the American culture has made its way over here. So maybe we can even throw out some prizes at some point if I remember who answers these questions. But anybody know what movie this is? Yes. All right. Good. How about this one? It's Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know that, right? This one? Rocky, yeah, that's right. Rocky, that's right. So this is us. We're going through the experience, like learning Python, listening, and we're learning it really fast, and it's great. And then finally one day, we knew Python. And we hugged on the beach, just like that. And about the time that I would say that I could actually qualify myself as knowing Python and being able to do stuff with it was around the time of PyCon 2012 in the US. And so just to prove that I was there, I have the t-shirt. But that was kind of a great moment. PyCon in the US at that time had, I think, around 2,500 people. And I mean, it was incredible being there. So now that we had the skills, then what did we do? Now we got to work. So we started in June of 2012. And we got into Techstars. How many of you heard of Techstars? Okay, Y Combinator? Okay, a little more. So Techstars and Y Combinator are the two big accelerators in the world. If you're interested in starting a company, it'd be good to apply. By the way, how many of you work for a startup? How many of you have started or want to start your own company someday? Awesome. I hope more hands will go up after this. So we got into Techstars, and in 1 year, we were able to generate $10 million of a value in the company, just with 2.5 people. It's because one guy joined halfway through, right? So 2.5, not half of a human. In the next year after that, so we got some funding, and the next year after that, we had 16 people, and we were able to generate $75 million in value. And the way we did that, we could not have done that without Python. So we tried before we knew Python, and we went nowhere. But knowing Python, putting in a lot of hard work, this is what we were able to accomplish. Now, over the next year and a half, we're adding people pretty quickly now, and we want to grow to the company to 50 or 60 people. 20 of those people will be in Ukraine, actually, and we've already started the office. A few of them are here. If you're interested in talking with them, they're wearing the t-shirts. And notice the number of question marks in this value, right? It's 3 or 4. That's what we're going for. So the bottom line is that Python equals potential. And how many of you know who this guy is? Paul Graham. So anybody who knew who Y Combinator was, and how many of you read Hacker News? Okay, that's right. So this guy invented Hacker News, basically. All right. So if you didn't know who he was by face, that's who he is. So he gave a keynote at PyCon 2012, and what he said, it was in Silicon Valley. What he said is that Silicon Valley, it's the center of innovation of the world. But the center of Silicon Valley moves around from time to time, depending where the most exciting stuff is happening, where the people with the most potential are. He said, at the time, there's 2,500 people in the room, 2,500 Python programmers in the room. He said, that means that right here, right now, in Silicon Valley at 2012, that was the center of potential and innovation. So where do you guys think the center of potential and innovation is in Ukraine right now? It's right here. So that's the potential. So I bet you some of you have been programming in Python for so long that you maybe take for granted what you can do with it. So just remember, just anything you can imagine, any kind of business idea, you can pretty quickly execute on it, knowing Python. So, but if you don't have an idea, maybe I can share some ideas with you. And I'm going to focus on data science because that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I know. That's not the only reason that I'm going to focus on that. The other reason is that there's just an incredible amount of potential in data science now. And the reason for that is the amount of data in the world, right? So if you guys have read anything online or been to any presentations, everybody talks about the amount of data exponentially increasing in the world, and now people are trying to extract value from it. Well, you might get sick of hearing that, but it's definitely true. The other thing is all these companies sitting with data, they're under a tremendous amount of pressure to compete with each other to extract value from it, to be the first to extract the value from it, to beat their competition in the market. And while the demand for data science has increased exponentially over the last few years, the supply of data scientists, people actually capable of doing the work, has remained fairly flat. And so basically this gap in supply versus demand is what's creating this large opportunity in the data science space. So I'm going to share with you 3 opportunities that I think if you think about it, put some effort into, find something you're passionate about, anything's possible. But first, let me define data science, since I don't think everybody in this audience knows what data science is. And so data science consists of 3 things. There's a bunch of, by the way, there's a bunch of other data science definitions out there, but this is the real one. Like, don't listen to those other ones. This is invented by somebody named Drew Conway. He's a famous data scientist in New York City, and this is the one I like the most. So it's 3 things. It's hacking skills, it's math and stats knowledge, and it's domain knowledge of the topic that you're modeling or analyzing. So start with the first one, hacking skills. What do we mean by hacking skills? Here we mean specifically, you're able to write code to go get the data wherever it is in its rawest form and bring it to you so that you can do whatever you want with it. You can manipulate, you can clean, you can clean and manipulate and explore the data. You can run statistical analysis and in machine learning, like using scikit-learn or some of the other packages in Python. And you can deliver this is most important, is you can deliver the results in like a small web app or equivalent. So this all involves writing Python code. So you can see how knowing Python is useful to become a data scientist, because you have to be able to do all these things. The other thing is that even if you can write the Python code, you can end up doing some pretty stupid stuff with models if you don't understand the machine learning or statistical learning. So the math and stats knowledge part of this is how to frame you have to know how to frame the problem. Like, how do you take what the customer or what you want to do and then gather the right data, put it into the right format, and run it through the right type of model to get the answers that you need. Knowing what technique to use. As you can see, if you know anything about scikit-learn, there's many techniques in there. So how do you know which one to use? Knowing that's really important. And then how to evaluate and validate different modeling strategies. So if you're going to build a model or do some analysis, you better have some ways of validating it. And then the third part is domain knowledge. And really, this is extremely important, and specifically it means understanding the business problem or the scientific problem that you're trying to solve with machine learning. It's going really deep in there and understanding every little detail about it. Also knowing the data, and really, really knowing the data. So when I build a model, if I start with a data set that has 100 variables, and I build a model, I'm going to understand every single one of those variables. Like, how was it stored originally? How did I extract it? What did I do? How did I transform it before it got to the model? And then how is it behaving inside the model? Like, you really have to understand every little detail like that, or else something's likely to go wrong. And then how will its value, how will it be operationalized? So we don't just build these models, predictive models. We don't just do this analysis in a box and then it doesn't go anywhere. We have to deliver this, and most of the time it's to people who are non-technical. So you do this statistical analysis, or you build predictive models, and then you serve that up to people that are like far from as technical as you are. And so you have to understand how it's going to be used, and how are you going to communicate the value of what you're doing to somebody who doesn't understand the details of what you're doing. So the three opportunities. The first one is in better infrastructure and tools for data science. And I mean, this is my personal wish, is that people focus on abstraction and accessibility and scalability, especially scalability. I think Python was on the cutting edge of data science for a while, and it has some scaling issues. And if we don't address those, Python's likely to kind of turn into something like R or MATLAB. No offense to any R programmers, but R or MATLAB, where it's more like a prototyping tool. We don't want Python to be a prototyping tool. We want it to be the real heavy-duty thing that we use to do the real work. And there's two flavors of infrastructure tools. So you can build a product on top of the open source tools. That's what we've done with DataRobot. Or you could build start a new project inside of the open source. Scikit-learn, of course, is a good example of a data science project in Python. There's a bunch of other pandas and lots of good ones. And then if we get even more specific, here's like a very specific wish list for if anybody wants to tackle one of these. Shared memory parallelism, better Hadoop integration, native support for big data. And what I mean by that is, when you think big data, you think Hadoop and Java, Scala, and there's some Python tools that can interact with some of the new big data technologies, but it's being written not really by the Python community, but by the people who own those technologies, because they know Python's popular, so they create APIs to their technology. But that's just enabling the Python community to use these tools that are really outside of the core Python language. So if you have some passion for Python and you want it to continue to be one of the leading machine learning and data science languages, then there's some work to be done. This is my personal favorite. Distributed in-memory data frame. How many of you use pandas? Okay. We got a long way to go to get you guys up to speed on data science. Oh, so everybody who didn't raise their hand, make sure to attend Peter. Peter, can you stand up just and show them your face so they know? Peter's giving a tutorial tomorrow on how to get started with scikit-learn in machine learning in Python. So attend that talk and you'll know what pandas is. It's not just an animal. And then easy to use yet powerful deep learning. How many of you have heard the term deep learning? Oh, cool. All right. So for those who haven't, it's basically the technology that's going to enable robots to like walk around and like kill people and do stuff. So work on it so we can get there quicker. No. The second opportunity, the second category of opportunities is specific use cases for applying machine learning. It's not too hard to think. Once you understand a little bit about machine learning and how it works, making predictions and operationalizing it, it's pretty easy to come up with examples just in your own personal life. Wow, I wish that was automated. I wish that was automated. So the important thing is to find a problem that you're passionate about so that you can dig into it deeply and understand it. Because as we saw in the Venn diagram, the domain expertise part is extremely important. So, and you're not going to get deep enough in the domain unless you're very passionate about it. But if you want some ideas for where to look for opportunities, I think the hottest areas are in health, and there specifically you have like drug discovery to come up with better medicines. They're using machine learning for that. Machine learning for better healthcare. So instead of people coming to the doctor when they're feeling sick, trying to predict ahead of time, does this person have diabetes? Does this person have this disease or that disease? And then, or are they likely to develop it? And then try to treat it in advance. And then quantified self. Quantified self, it's these devices now that are coming out that that you put on your wrist, or there's some that are shirts, and they're measuring everything about your body that's going on. And so all this information about what's going on inside your body is going to be used to let you know when there's something wrong, right? Or before something's going to go really wrong, so you can go get help. That's going to save a lot of lives, and that's something that I would personally love to work on someday. So there's a tremendous opportunity there. Also, the Internet of Things and machine data in general. There's just so much data being generated by all these machines that are connected. That will all need to be automated using machine learning. So there's plenty of opportunities there. Education. So designing intelligent learning platforms that adjust to the child or the student's learning abilities, right? So asking them questions, seeing how well they do in the test, and then adapting the next kind of questions to them. I mean, if you think of how education works historically, it's like one syllabus for everybody. You just follow along, no matter how much you're struggling. You can. I think there's a big opportunity in education to improve that. And there's a lot of companies already working on it, but there's so much that can be done. I got to think if you look closely there, you'll find something. Computer vision. So this is about the deep learning stuff I was talking about. They've made breakthroughs recently in the past like 5 or 6 years in computer vision that make it an extremely interesting area to work in. So that's another area for it. And that leads into robotics and the machines coming to life and killing us. So do you want to work on that? This last one isn't as exciting, but it's a real opportunity in terms of if you want to build a company for yourself and work for yourself. And it's data science services. So, and it's a big opportunity because there's a lot of companies out there with lots and lots of money, especially in the US, but probably all around the world. And they suck at data science. They're like awful at it. And one of the reasons, they just can't execute on it. So they'll hire a bunch of No offense to any PhD statisticians, but they'll hire a bunch of PhD statisticians that sit there in a room and they like do some whiteboard stuff and run some R code, but nothing ever comes out of that and hits the business, right? No solution actually come out. So the reason that they struggle to actually implement any of this stuff that they do in this room is they don't have any software engineering skills. So they can do some analysis. They get a data set, they run a summary, analyze it, they maybe build a model, but actually like implementing the model and having it affect the business or solve some scientific problem, they just can't do it. So you people in this room have software engineering capability, and I got to think that you have the capability of understanding data science and machine learning. If you were able to learn how to do this, program in Python, you can probably learn the data science stuff as well. So I think there's a big opportunity there to extract lots and lots of money from these big companies that suck at data science. And the key to really becoming successful here is to become a generalized data scientist. And what that means, there's two types of data scientists. There's one who's very specific to one industry or one type of scientific area, like a chemist or for drug discovery. Somebody's really good at drug discovery, or somebody's really good at modeling insurance problems. But then they're stuck there just doing that. There's another type of data scientist that they can go to in any situation, drug discovery or cancer research, insurance company, a bank, a sports team, and they can go in there and ask the right questions and then quickly get to a place where they understand the domain enough to do the data science. And they have to work closely with the true experts of the domain, but they can understand enough that they can actually execute on the data science. So if you want to start a consulting firm that could be, quickly turn into a $10 million, $100 million annual revenue company, I think that would be a quick path to there. Right. So that was the potential and the opportunity, and so hopefully that has reminded you of how powerful you guys in this audience are. And so I'm expecting really big things from you. And I've just got 2 questions for you to think about through the rest of the conference. Like, what is it that you want? And that first one, this is a deep question. This isn't like what you want for lunch, or like what do you want, what Python package do you want? Like what do you want out of life? Like where do you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And then what are you going to do about it? So, but don't think about the second question till you know the answer to the first one. Like, what do you want out of life? And then what are you going to do about it? Are you going to go to your job, keep going to your job every single day, and putting in the hours and coding and earning a decent, an above average salary, which is good. Maybe that's fine for a lot of people, but maybe some of you want to do something bigger and change the world even, right? So if you want to do that, just ask yourself, what are you actually going to do about it, like tomorrow or next week? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish building the DataRobot company and turn it into a multi-billion-dollar company, and then I'm going to come back here and I'm just going to write checks to the super talented people in Ukraine that want to start their own companies, and I think I'll make even more money off that. So if I can help in any way, there's my email address. If anybody wants to get started building a company, has questions about that, or data science, Jeremy at DataRobot, for those of you straining your necks. Or look for me around the conference. Very approachable person. I'm just very sleepy right now if I seem cranky or out of it. But yeah, I'd be glad to help anybody with anything. And I think that's all I had. So we can open it up to questions now.
Do I have to want to start my own company, or I can just want to do data science?
No, you have to start your own company. No, just kidding. No. So great question. And I'm going to answer it in a way. I'm going to expand on it. So, what would happen if everybody in here had to go start their own company, like, right? Yeah, it would be very diluted. It'd be a bunch of 300 real shitty companies, right? And I'll tell you, in Silicon Valley right now, it's just insane. Like, you talk to an engineer, and you're like, hey, you want to come work with us? And he's like, yeah, your product's awesome, your team's awesome, right? Like, I'm gonna sign me up. And then, like, the next week he's like, oh, I just got $1 million from this VC. I'm gonna start my own company, right? And so what you have is all these companies, like, basically diluted talent. So the first thing is, the specific answer to your question is no, you don't have to. Like, so data science is a challenging, fun, rewarding career that has a big future ahead of it. So go ahead and explore that. But if you do want to start a company, definitely don't do it by yourself. You have to attach yourself to super talented, passionate people that you're going to get along with, or else your startup, your company isn't going to be around very long. Thanks. Someone else?
So probably we all are interested in launching our own companies, but this is the probably more technical conference. And my question is, what models you used in your business? Like just mentioned the set of models you applied in your own business from scikit-learn and something probably related to it.
Oh, sure. So the specific machine learning algorithms and statistical models that we like to use are the ones that work really well for Kaggle competitions. So Kaggle competitions are these competitions where a company, they have data and they know what they want to predict, and they let the world compete to find the most accurate possible model. So I'm not really interested in building models. There's hundreds of different techniques out there to build models with. What I've always been interested in since I started working in this field is, what's the best model I can possibly build? Like, that's what I want to do. So the techniques that we've chosen to focus on are the ones that enable us to build the best models we possibly can. So random forest, gradient boosted trees. So if anybody's used scikit-learn and has used boosted trees package, Peter's actually one of the authors of that. Support vector machines, generalized linear models, and specifically regularized generalized linear models. So are extremely important, especially with sparse data. Decision trees are good for exploring the data. So those are probably the ones that are most used. There's a lot more, but like, you can get pretty far along if you just know those. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but also, what about neural networks and deep learning?
Yeah.
Special tools you used for it?
Yeah, so neural networks and deep learning, that's good for a specific class of problems. And to be honest, it's not, there's so many companies out there. By the way, if you want to get bought by Google, start a deep learning company, right? Like Google and Facebook, they're just like, you start a company, you do something for a few months, and they just buy you. Like, that's it, and then you work for Google. So point is, there's a lot of companies focusing on that, and so we're not that focused on deep learning. Although we do have a few custom things that we've built, but by no means are we focused on computer vision. It's mostly the other problems. Yeah. Just yell.
So.
Just yell. I can be really loud. Don't worry about it.
Why on top of open source? Why not within open source?
Right. The question was, why did we build on top of open source and why not within open source? And the answer is that the answer is what we're trying to build. It's very, very ambitious, and it requires getting the best people in the world to work on this problem for a long period of time and have many, many talented engineers. And that as an open source project, it's just I don't see it as possible for the scale of what we're trying to build. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good answer. That's the one that I think is the right answer. Yes.
Which technologies you are using for scaling? I know the 5 or 10 scale problem.
Yeah, Spark. So the question was, what technologies are we using for scaling? The answer is we're exploring some different things. While Spark is very is still immature, it has the most momentum and looks to be the most promising. So that's what we'll put our support behind. And as I mentioned in the what we're requesting for the Python tools, like native Python support for big data, the Spark is an example of we have to use a technology outside of Python because there is nothing inside of Python that exists that can do what Spark does. So if we want to keep Python to be the cutting edge in terms of data science, we're going to need something like Spark or like inside of the Python ecosystem.
Last question.
Yes.
Where do you get your customers and clients? How you involve it in your business to get your business growth?
Yeah, great question. So, and I'll give you a little bit of background. The question was, where do we get our customers? And a little bit of background is, how many of you heard the phrase big data? Yeah, right? So it turns out that there's 1,000 big data companies, startups right now. And they all go, so if you're the boss of some company, some chief information officer, chief technology officer in some Fortune 500 company, you have literally hundreds of companies saying, we're the #1 big data company, buy our stuff. We're real-time Hadoop analytics. And so we didn't want to be another one of those companies because that just looks hopeless. Like, why would they ever choose the DataRobot company over like these other companies that are all saying that they're the best big data analytics company? So what we do is we try to put content out. So you notice here, like, I didn't, even in this talk, I didn't tell you too much about DataRobot. We just try to give, put good content out there to show that we get real quality people, and it makes people curious about what we're working on. So that's really the strategy. So it's really like an inbound content marketing strategy that we have. That has worked really well. So just putting no information about DataRobot out there except a high-level description, but put out real good content makes people want to know what DataRobot is. And then we bring them in and we show them a demo, and then they want to buy it because it's pretty cool. Do we have time for one more, or are we done?
Sometime.
Okay, one more? Because I like to shout, so.
Consider that I'm typical software developer. I know nothing about statistics or some data science. Where should I start?
Start by attending Peter's course. It's wrong, but so there's some good courses on Coursera in Udacity. Those are the free online courses. And there's a book called Elements of Statistical Learning. So, and you can email me this. You can email me if you want this, or maybe somebody can write this down and publish it. Elements of Statistical Learning by A.C. Tibshirani and Friedman. And this is like the Bible of modeling. And starting with that and going chapter by chapter through that, you'll be in pretty good shape at the end if you can get through it. And it's you don't if you have a little bit of math background and you're smart, like you should be able to go through this book pretty easily. And if you have trouble with it, there's one that's even more introductory. It's called Introduction to Statistical Learning by the same authors. That's a little bit lower level. So like I would really start with those books. That's the right way to think about modeling, and so I would start there. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone else? Yes.
Why Ukraine?
Why Ukraine?
Yeah.
So I mentioned that I was from Techstars. I was from Techstars. So Roman is another Techstars CEO, and I met Roman at a Techstars event, and he was telling me about his experience he was running a dev shop in Kyiv. And, he's like, the best engineers in the world work there. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, no, seriously, the best engineers in the world work there. And a lot of the work that they have is kind of boring. They need like really exciting stuff to work on. Like, let's see, so I have an exciting product and a shortage of engineers. This place has many great engineers and not enough interesting work. Seems like a good fit. And then so I flew out there, like, what was it? 2 weeks later, I flew out to Ukraine. And that was during kind of like right after that one plane got shot down. So my family and company and friends thought I was insane for coming out here. But I came out, I got to Kyiv, and it was fine. And so we went around, we saw offices, I met a bunch of great people, and I was like, yeah, I want to bet on this. I want to bet on Ukraine. And so yeah, does that answer the question? A lot, and so far it's worked out great. So. What's that? Yeah, we just opened an office. The question was, have we started? Yeah, we have an office, and we have a few of our developers here. They're wearing T-shirts. So, Alexei and Daniil. Yeah. Cool. Any last questions? By the way, you can just come find me at any time during the conference. I might be sleeping for the next couple hours, so I can take a nap. But after that, you can find me, and then I'm glad to talk with anyone. What's it? Oh! The Yulia and Yulia are yelling at me to remind you that we're throwing a big party tonight. Where is it? Here? What floor? Second floor? Second floor. Lots of beer. We hired the best band in all of Ukraine, I'm told, to play music, and we'll give out some T-shirts and lots of fun stuff and good conversation. So yeah, please make sure to stop by at least for a little while and help us drink all the beer.